The movie is set in 2028 when the multinational conglomerate Omnicorp has revolutionized warfare by introducing robotic peacekeepers capable of maintaining law and order. At the movie's start, television personality Pat Novak starts off an episode of his show The Novak Element by pointing out that every country in the world except for the United States is under high security with robotic droids produced by Omnicorp. This is primarily due to the practice of the Dreyfus Act, forbidding the deployment of militarized robots in the United States. Novak asks Pentagon leaders how to decrease the crime rate globally. The leaders explain that droids aren't the solution as they are prone to make mistakes. Novak dismisses their claim and proceeds to show the audience a live video of Omnicorp's droids demonstration. In the live video, there are large droids and other robots doing a scan on citizens in the area. Meanwhile, inside a house, a man sets up a group of self-kill bombers to blow themselves up in front of the media to show propaganda against the droids. They launch their attack, with all the bombers getting killed by the droids, though they succeed in taking out some of the robots themselves. The leader's son runs outside with a knife in hand. A droid sees the boy as a threat and guns him down, immediately killing him. The camera crew captures all of this in the live video. Regardless of what happened, Novak continues his show by admiring how the droids handled the situation, pointing out that Omnicorp CEO Sellers has the right idea to push forward for use of these droids in the US. However, we learn that Senator Dreyfus is against it, having issued the Dreyfus Act to prevent this type of law enforcement. Novak ends his show by asking why America is so robophobic. In Detroit, Police Detective Murphy walks to a meeting with Chief Karen Dean. In her office are two other cops, John Lake and Andre Daniels. The chief reprimands Murphy for the events of the previous night. Murphy and his partner Lewis had gotten into a shootout with men working for crime boss Antoine Vallon, killing 6 of them and critically wounding Lewis. Once Lake and Daniels leave the office, Murphy tells his story to the chief. The next scene goes into a flashback. Murphy and Lewis have been undercover to crack down on shipments of illegal firearms. Posing as buyers, they interview a dealer who reveals that he works for the crime boss, Vallon. The undercover cops run the serial numbers of illegal weapons and discover something shocking. They are guns that should have been locked up in the evidence room, which means there are some dirty cops working for the crime boss, Vallon. Against their better judgment, Murphy and Lewis go to a restaurant to meet with Vallon to deal with the firearms. The meeting starts smoothly. However, just as they're about to close the deal, somebody discloses the real identity of the two cops to Vallon over the phone. Vallon immediately leaves the table just as he has his men attack the undercover cops. Moments after, a few cars pull up in front of the restaurant, and a group of gunmen armed with pistols and submachine guns open fire. Murphy and Lewis return fire with their pistols. After a lengthy exchange of gunfire, during which several henchmen are killed, Murphy escapes outside. Lewis prepares to follow Murphy when a henchman hiding in the kitchen bursts out and fires on him. In the process, he is shot in his right shoulder. Murphy stays with him until an ambulance can arrive, and Vallon manages to escape. Back in the present, Chief Dean reminds Murphy that she will handle the situation. Meanwhile, Omnicorp CEO Sellers arrives in Detroit to meet up with his marketing associates. The CEO wonders what they can possibly do to convince the senators to use droids. He then proposes they get a man into a machine as a test sample to integrate humans and robots. The CEO then heads to the Omnicorp Rehab Center, where Dr. Dennett Norton is tending to a man who has had his arms replaced with artificial robotic limbs. Dr. Norton is then called away by Sellers. They review potential amputee candidates for the man-in-a-machine program, all of them veteran police officers, but Norton rejects each one either due to their physical form or their psychological screenings. Meanwhile, it's revealed to us that the two officers, Lake and Daniels, are the men who betrayed Murphy to Vallon. They meet Vallon at a bar, where he gently chides them for not warning him sooner. He considers bribing Murphy to get him in line, but the two detectives think it would be easier to just kill Murphy. So Vallon orders one of his men to plant a bomb in the driver's side wheel well of Murphy's car that afternoon, while Murphy is visiting his injured partner Lewis in the hospital. Later, Murphy goes home to his wife Clara and 10-year-old son. After putting their son to bed, he and Clara start to get intimate when the car alarm goes off. The car alarm is a trap, and it lures him outside. Suddenly, the car is then blown up remotely. Murphy is critically wounded, subjected to 4th-degree burns over his entire body. Both his legs and one arm have to be amputated. Dr. Norton and his medical team, seeing a perfect candidate for their man-in-a-machine project, convince Clara to give consent to use Murphy for the program, although she is concerned as to what kind of life he will have. Fast forward to 3 months later, Murphy is at a party with Clara. However, this turns out to be a memory that Dr. Norton is viewing as his team puts the finishing touches on Murphy's new mechanical suit. They wake him up, and he is in shock as to what he has transformed into. Upon waking up and realizing the extent of his transformation, a frustrated Murphy escapes, but Norton shuts him down and brings him back to the lab, as Norton reveals to Murphy that the only remnants of his human body are most of his head, heart, lungs, and right hand. A disgusted Murphy requests that he die. Norton reminds him that Clara signed the consent forms, so if they let him die, the work will have been for nothing. Next, Murphy is put through training and is set to get familiar with his program. As the trainer shows him, his suit can respond to a threat, taking out a firearm if needed. Murphy is taken to a simulator room where he is placed next to a droid. He proves unable to compete with the machine efficiently. Norton alters Murphy's programming to make him more efficient by letting robot programming take over his actions, making Murphy think they are his. After Murphy's simulator training is complete, he moves on to field training. He is put to the test against his trainer, who is suited in an exoskeleton along with other robots. Murphy easily maneuvers through the robot's gunfire and defeats the trainer. The entire test training is observed by Norton and Sellers. Norton explains that although Murphy thinks he is the one carrying out these actions, he is merely carrying out orders as programmed. The reprogramming has made him more efficient but less empathetic, due to his human nature being bypassed. That night, Murphy goes to his house to meet Clara and his son, to make sure they are okay. Although his family is surprised by his new appearance, they still embrace him. Shortly after, a public press conference is held to present the new and reformed Murphy, who is now known as RoboCop, to the city. While he is getting set up, Norton uploads the entire police database on Murphy's system, including his attempted murder. This triggers him, and he starts to have a seizure. Consequently, Dr. Norton resolves to suppress Murphy's emotions. Murphy then enters the ceremony, but he is unable to show any emotion towards his wife and son. Once he steps out before everybody, the crowd goes silent as he begins scanning the crowd for criminals with warrants. Things escalate as he spots one man in the crowd, who is wanted for murder. The man begins to run until our RoboCop shoots him with a taser round to the back, knocking him down. The incident is spun by Novak on his show as a reason for people to finally get behind this new program. He notes that the captured man has eluded the police for 6 years on charges of rape, assault, and murder, yet Murphy was able to catch him within a minute. As a result, public opinion on the Dreyfus Act to employ droids for security begins to change. Meanwhile, Clara begins noticing her husband's lack of emotion. Aware that she has begun to ask questions, the CEO, Sellers, orders Norton to keep her away from her husband. Clara nevertheless manages to confront Murphy, telling him of their son's nightmares, social withdrawal, and unresponsive behavior. Although Murphy seemingly ignores her, moments later, he can't help but tap into CCTV footage to see reporters bullying Clara and their son as she tries to take him to school. Realizing how much he's become distant from his family, Murphy rides back to his home and inspects the crime scene where his car blew up. He reviews the security footage that recorded the blast and is further dismayed to realize that his son witnessed his burning body. He learns his son had PTSD after witnessing the explosion. Next, Murphy decides to pursue the crime boss, Valen's gang, to exact revenge. He tracks down Valen's warehouse. As he rides over to the warehouse, someone tips off the crime boss to Murphy's arrival. Valen rallies his men to grab their guns. As an extra precaution, they turn the lights off and wear night vision goggles, hoping to make it harder for Murphy to get kill shots on them. They open fire on Murphy as he blows down the doors with his motorcycle. During the fight, Murphy gets his suit shot and his visor broken, but he kills all of Valen's remaining gunmen, saving Valen for last. After gunning down Valen, the RoboCop picks up a gun from one of the fallen soldiers and scans it for fingerprints, picking up prints from Lake and Daniels. He then returns to the police station, followed by his old partner Lewis. He interrogates Lake and Daniels, proving their involvement in his attempted murder and working with Valen. Now that the truth is revealed, Daniels, fearing for his career, tries to shoot Murphy but gets shot in return. Lake admits that their chief Dean was involved in both the shootout at the restaurant and the car bomb. He tases Lake and goes to confront the chief. Before he can get a confession out of her, Murphy's trainer, operating from a remote facility, shuts him down. Next, on another episode of The Novak Element, Novak comments on how Murphy exposed the corruption within the police department, further suggesting why it's time to finally put the robots out on the street. Meanwhile, Sellers gets his men to issue a statement to the public saying that Murphy is in critical condition. He wants to use Murphy as a symbol of martyrdom to stir up sympathy, and thus get the Dreyfus Act revoked. Sellers then sends his men out to destroy Murphy, preparing to tell Clara that Murphy died from his injuries. One of Sellers' goons arrives at Clara's home and escorts her and her son to meet with Sellers. Thankfully, Dr. Norton manages to run into the facility where Murphy is being kept, warning him that there are mercenaries sent by Sellers and are there to kill both of them. Murphy wakes up in time to kill the two goons before they can fire at him and Norton. In the next scene, Murphy rides his motorcycle to Omnicorp headquarters and gets help from Lewis, who has rallied the SWAT team to assist. He tases one guard outside the building, forcing the others to stand down. He flips his motorcycle into the building, getting the attention of two droids. They shoot at the RoboCop, but he gets them to shoot at each other. Unfortunately, a third droid attacks him from above, and Murphy's left arm is caught beneath it. As more droids come in, Murphy is forced to grab a machine gun and shoot his left arm off, but the incoming droids shoot at him, incapacitating him. Luckily, Lewis runs in to save the day and stands in front of him, giving Murphy a chance to run. Moments after, Sellers' goons catch up with him. They open fire and get into a fight. Before the main goon can deliver the fatal shot at Murphy, Lewis arrives just in time to shoot the villain. In the process, Lewis gets shot, but it isn't fatal. Murphy then makes it to the rooftop of the building as Sellers is waiting for a helicopter. Clara and his son are there with him, as are other mercenaries. Murphy orders the mercenaries to stand down, and they comply. He attempts to arrest Sellers for trying to have him killed, but he is wearing a red asset bracelet, due to which Murphy's programming cannot let him shoot Sellers. With this advantage, Sellers aims his gun at Murphy, and then at Clara and their son. This gives Murphy enough willpower to override his program and shoot Sellers, who returns fire. As Sellers dies, Clara and their son rush to Murphy's side. The final scene of the movie shows one more episode of the Novak element. We learn that the president has reinstated the Dreyfus Act once Norton testified against Omnicorp's program. Despite this, Novak is still pro-robot, continuing to praise Sellers and bash Norton.